You may be seated. You may be seated. Wow. I don't even think I've even went back to watch that. I need to do that. A lot of emotions, a lot of emotions. But it is already, we're supposed to be done, Dr. Lee, in 56 minutes, brother. So I'm going to do a pump fake dribble twice and throw you an alley-oop. You got your Bibles? Stand real quick with your Bibles. Go to 2 Timothy chapter 4. 2 Timothy chapter 4. We've looked at generations. We looked at transition. Then we've looked at preparation. Now we're going to look at exhortation. Transition, preparation, exhortation. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1 says this: in the presence of God and of Christ Jesus, who will judge the living and the dead, and in view of his appearing and his kingdom, I give you this charge. Here it is. Preach the word. Be prepared in season and out of season. Correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction. For the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their ears and desires, they will gather around them as such great numbers of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. Watch out. They will turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside to myths. But you, keep your head in all situations. Endure hardship. Do the work of an evangelist. Watch this. Discharge all of your duties of the ministry, for I am ready to be poured out like a drink offering, and the time of my departure is near. Here we go. I have fought the good fight. I have finished my race. I have kept the faith. You may be seated. You may be seated. There are moments in life, when people share words. And when they share these words, there are certain scenarios or situations or events where they share words with you, where these words are probably the most important words they'll ever share. There are moments where people gather together, and these events give people to share what they believe are the most important words. At weddings, you have people come and share some of the most important words they can express to the couple who's about to get married. At baby showers, often they have parents, loved ones, friends, family members who share share good words, important words, and pour into the life of the couple who's expecting a child. There are moments when we share words that are very important. At graduations, there are many people who pour into life and speak what they believe are the most important, the most critical words they can share with someone as they matriculate in their life. There are also milestone events where people share and speak important words into your life. There are times when people retire and people get to hear the most important words they could hear from different colleagues and the company who want to share with you how important that you are and how much you meant to them. Of all these moments, one of the most critical moments that someone will share with you, the most important thing they could ever think of in that moment, I believe, is when they're on their deathbed. If you're a pastor or you have a loved one that was sick or someone that was fading away, you know and I know that there probably isn't any more important conversation than someone who's laying on the bed and they know they're about to die. I remember when my grandmother was fading away. They caught video of my grandmother before she passed, and the words she shared echoes in our family till today. I remember my older brother, when I talked to him on FaceTime when he was in England. And the words he shared with me on the FaceTime are words I'd never heard before. And I know that he knew at the moment in which he knew death was calling him, because he sent me a text message that I've screenshotted and planted in the frame, because the words that he has said to me have penetrated my heart. There are moments in life where people share words, but I don't know any more important word that you could ever share with someone when you know your time is coming. And in our text, Paul is about to leave. He's on his deathbed. In fact, in verse 6, he says, I'm being poured out like a drink offering. Paul knows that his life is about to end. He knows that for him, the end is coming. He knows that the road is about to end. And Paul says, listen, I'm going to share with you, Timothy, the most critical, important instructions and exhortation I could ever give you. When Paul knows he's about to die, he makes room to share with Timothy the most critical information he could ever have in order to do what God has called him to do. He says, I'm being poured out like a drink offering. In fact, in the Old Testament, in their times, they would have offerings about in the morning and at twilight. And we know often that they would sacrifice animals or a lamb to give sacrificial offerings. Another element of this is when they would also put oil, and they would put about a quarter of a hint of wine as a drink offering. And they would pour this out in the morning, and they would pour it out at twilight. And Paul is saying, listen, I'm being poured out like a drink offering. But he says, he's not saying that death is coming. He says that death is already here. He said, I'm being poured out. Like, I'm not waiting to die. Death isn't coming. Death already has me. Paul knew that his life was coming to an end, and he wanted to make sure he poured into Timothy's life and shared these words with him. These are the most critical words that he could ever receive as he's passing the baton to Timothy. Timothy is in transition. Timothy is also in preparation. And now Paul gives him exhortation. Are you with me? The last 3 days we've been here, we've talked about transition. We talked about preparation. And now I believe we should get some exhortation. Are you with me today? Now, what's interesting about this is he says to him, listen now, that I need you to be ready to do what God has called you to do. And in order to do that, watch this now, he's going to give him an exhortation. If I'm Timothy, I'm saying, well, what do you want me to know? He says, preach the word. And that's my first point. First thing I want you to know is that with the exhortation I want to give you in your life is don't forget your assignment. Don't forget your assignment. He tells Timothy, listen now, he says, preach the word. Of all the things I could tell you to do, Timothy, preach the word. And I don't know who's in here today. I don't know what season you're in. I don't know what chapter of your life you're in. But whatever you do, don't forget your assignment. God has called you. God has prepared you. You've already been in transition. And in this season, so many things can be going on around you that you could actually forget your assignment. And God's word to Timothy is don't let the fact that I'm fading away make you forget the fact that you have an assignment. Don't let the naysayers or haters around you make you think that you're not adequate or equipped for this assignment. Whatever you do, Timothy, preach the word. And I don't know what call God has on your life, but whatever you do, don't forget your assignment. For Timothy, it was preach the word. Watch this now. But when he says preach the word, he's telling him, I want you to teach and preach God's truth. Preach the word. Whatever you do, Timothy, whatever you do, I need you to teach and preach my truth, God's truth. Timothy, whatever you do, since you've known me, Timothy, and you've walked with me and you've journeyed with me, my goal has always been that I'm straining towards taking hold of that which took hold of me. I left my old lifestyle and I followed Christ that I may attain a crown that is everlasting. He says, listen now, whatever you do, preach the word. I need you to preach and teach God's truth. But we live in a culture that would tell you to speak your truth. We live in a culture that would tell you, no, live your truth. We live in a culture that would tell you, no, I'm walking in my truth. Or I'm living my truth, and I'm going to tell you my truth. No, don't be mad at me. Accept this because it's my truth. I don't care about your truth. I don't care about my truth. If it doesn't line up with God's truth, it's not truth at all. Jesus said, watch this now. He says, I will come to give you life and that more abundantly. Jesus says, I am the way, I am the truth, and I am the life. Jesus never said that I'm some of the way. He never said that I'm some of the truth, and he didn't say I'm some of the life. Jesus said, I am the way, the only way. I am the truth, the only truth, and I am the life, the only place you'll ever have life. He said, Timothy, whatever you do, preach the truth. The culture around you will try to tell you what their truth is, but preach the truth. I'm so tired of people telling me, this is just my truth. You can keep your truth. because your truth won't set you free. Jesus says you should know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And every time I hear people talking about this is my truth and I'm just speaking my truth, every time they say it, they describe themselves living in bondage. They describe themselves living in chains when Jesus says that the truth shall set you free. Whatever you do, Timothy, preach the word. But watch this. He doesn't stay there. He says, but Timothy, when you preach the word in season and out of season. He says, I need you to preach the word, but I need you to be prepared to preach the word. You don't have a sermon if you haven't prepared. I hope the last 2 or 3 days you've realized that Dr. Lee and I have actually came prepared to the best of our ability. You should never show up to do your assignment unprepared. When God has called you and he has trusted you, you should do whatever it takes to be equipped to do whatever you need to do to fulfill the call on your life. This may not be your call. I have a call. You have a call. All of God's children have a call. Whatever he's called you to do, be prepared. Watch this. He says, but be prepared in season and be prepared out of season. And when he says be prepared, this word prepared means to be ready. It means whatever you do, you must always be on duty. I shouldn't have to pick up my phone and try to find out where you are when you said this was your assignment. I shouldn't show up at your business and you say your business opens at 8 o'clock and it's 8:15 and the doors are still closed. No, you said this is your business. This is your calling. When God calls you to do something, you ought to be present. He says, always be prepared means to be ready. But watch this. It also means to be on guard. Now, in season and out of season. When there's opportunity and when there's not opportunity. Are you with me? Always be prepared. Now, some of you guys know this. My mom's British. My dad's Jamaican. And so I grew up in London. I lived in London for about 10 years. So living in London, when you go to Buckingham Palace, you see these guards. They have these red tunics and they have these bearskin hats. Watch this. And these guards are always standing. In fact, there are people who are touring who intentionally try to do something to get the soldier to be off point. What they're trying to do is trying to do something to get the soldier off his position. And if you've noticed, no matter how many memes they put, no matter how many pictures they take, no matter how much they try to distract the soldier doesn't blink, the soldier doesn't move, the soldier didn't even pay attention to all the activity that's going around them because they know it's their job to be ready in season and out of season. They need to be on their post if there's a reason to be on post, if there's trouble, and when trouble might come. The soldier can't leave their post to take a selfie and then come back and trouble has already been knocking on the door. It is the soldier's job to be ready, somebody say in season and out of season. My question to you is, have you left your post? Because we must be ready in season and out of season. I'm almost done. I've done my first dribble. I'm about to cross over and I'm throwing you an alley-oop. I'm almost done. Now watch this now. He says, be ready. Now, the first thing I want you to know is, listen, when it comes to your calling, make sure you know your assignment. Here's the second thing it reveals to us. Do not be distracted. Here we go. Go to verse 3. Verse 3 says this. For the time will come. Verse 5. Verse 5 says this. But you keep your head, not in some situations, in all situations. Endure hardship. You don't like that, so we're going to keep going. Do the work of an evangelist. Discharge the duties. Here, Paul's telling him, listen to me, whatever you do with the call on your life, stay focused. Whatever you do, you cannot fulfill the assignment that God has on your life if you don't stay focused. Listen, don't be distracted. Then he goes on, watch this now. He says, discharge all of the duties. Watch this. He says, listen, and whatever you do in every situation, keep your head on straight. He says, with this call on your life, in this season that you're in, there are going to be things that are going to try to distract you. But it is your job, watch this, to keep your head in all situations. Listen, this assignment is going to come, watch this now, with a, watch this, Dr. Ford, this assignment's going to come with measurable allotments. That's an inside joke. This assignment on your life is going to come with a set of responsibilities that you don't know how many tasks it's going to be required until you step into it. You don't know how many needs are going to come until you step into it. But when you step into it, trust me now, they're going to be trying to move you from the left and to the right. And I need you, watch this now, to discharge anything that causes you to lose focus on what I've called you to do. If anything moves you to the left or to the right, I need you to discharge anything that will stop you from being focused. Now, I'm going to look up. Who have you let into your life that you might need to discharge because they're not allowing you to stay focused? What have you allowed in your circle that you may need to discharge because it's not allowing you to stay focused? What might you be involved in? I really got to look up now. That you can't even stay in your right mind to be focused. That you might need to discharge from your life. He says, not only, I don't want you to forget your calling, but I don't want you to get distracted. What might be distracting you from doing what God has called you to do? What might you have let in that looked good at first? But now you realize it's consuming so much of your time, you can't even stay focused on what God has actually called you to do. I'm going to keep going, Dr. Lee. They don't like me. The alley-oop's coming. I'm almost done. Don't forget your calling. Don't get distracted. And don't forget what it takes to finish well. Don't forget what it takes. Here he goes. Verse 7 says this. I have fought the good fight. I have finished my race. I have kept the faith. All right. Now, he uses three verbs, watch this, within the perfect tense. He's not saying that I'm fighting the good fight. He's not saying that I'm running my race. He's not saying that I'm trying to keep my faith. He uses language that says, I have accomplished it, because he knows his end is now. He says, watch this now. You want to know how to be successful, Timothy? Let me help you out. You have to fight the good fight. You have to make sure that you finish your race. And you have to make sure that you keep the faith. Now watch this. He says you have to fight the good fight. Now, the word he uses for good means to fight a noble fight. And I'm not just going around fighting everybody who argues with me. It is a noble fight. It means anything that tries to oppose God's call on my life, watch this now, and the truth of God, watch this now, is a noble fight. Anything that contradicts what God has ordained, anything that contradicts what God has ordained or called in my life, listen, I have to fight the opposition. When you have a calling comes with a fight. And he says, I fought the good fight. And when I think about fighting the good fight, I think about, because he's telling Timothy, listen, you're going to have to endure hardship. Listen, you're going to have to go through some fights. This isn't going to be easy. That you're at some point, you're going to have to fight. I'm handing this to you, and I'm celebrating the fact that you're going to be in this new season. But guess what? This assignment, this calling of life is going to come with a fight. And you better be ready to fight the good fight. And you know, when I grew up, my dad loved boxing. I used to watch Mike Tyson, Frank Bruno, and Muhammad Ali. One thing about Muhammad Ali is he would be in a fight, and while Muhammad Ali or Cassius Clay was fighting, he would let the opponent swing on him. I never understood it. Then at some point in the fight, he would lean against the ropes. And if you watch the video in slow motion, you realize that his opponent is swinging at him in the fight. The opponent is exerting all of their energy, and he's actually leaning in the ropes, resting in the ropes. Listen, he's allowing his opponent to waste all their energy swinging and hitting at him when they're actually missing about 98% of the punches. Listen, and they're wearing themselves out while he's in the ropes, resting in the ropes. But I learned two things about the ropes. Not only does he rest in the ropes, but when his opponent gets tired, Muhammad Ali would use the ropes to give him power to knock out his opponent. If I use my homiletical, exegetical imagination, I believe that when I've been in my good fights, that God's arms have become the ropes that I'm wrestling in the ring. And when I lean into God's arms, he covers me and protects me and gives me the ability to rejuvenate my mind and my soul. But when the enemy's not looking, I move into the ropes and God pushes me and gives me the power to knock the enemy out. That even though the weapon was formed against me, the enemy's weapon does not prosper. I lean into God's arms to secure me and protect me. But I also lean into God's arms to push me and propel me to be everything that God has called me to be. Will you lean into the ropes of God so that you can get the rest you need for your assignment? Will you let God push you and give you the power that you need to fulfill your assignment? Listen now, but he doesn't just fight the good fight. He said, I finished my race. Now, he says, I finished my race. Listen, Hebrews 11, verse 1 and 2 says, listen, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, I'm almost about to look at alley-oop. Since I'm surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, listen, we should run the race that is marked out for us. Watch this now. As a believer, your life of faith is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Which means, watch this now, anyone who finishes gets the prize. He tells Timothy, I'm about to get my crown. Listen, it's not about competing. What I've learned about people, there's a couple of races now. If you're racing in an Olympic race, watch this now, a sprint, the moment you get out of your lane, you are disqualified. I wonder how many people in here, instead of you running in your lane and going to get what God has for you in your line and ordained for your life, you're too busy looking at somebody else's lane and you're getting disqualified for the blessings that God has for you. You're scrolling on Instagram and you're getting envious. You're scrolling on Instagram and you're getting jealous. Listen, stop looking to the left or to the right, because I've learned when you run looking to the left, you lean to the left. And the moment you get out of your lane, watch this now, you disqualify yourself for the blessings that God has for you. So why don't you stay in your lane and get what God has ordained for you in your life, listen, so that you can run your own race. But he says, listen, watch this now, I run this race with my eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and finisher of my faith. I'm almost done, Dr. Lee, it's coming. Now, I'm crazy. I like watching movies. I watch Forrest Gump. I like watching movies. Every time I watch Forrest Gump, I just laugh. You know, life like a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get, right? But when I really hone in and watch Forrest Gump, there's something special about him. But I realized Forrest Gump always had success running his race. When he was a little boy, and the bullies came, and they started trying to throw rocks at him, right? And he had these you know, the doctor said he had these braces, but his mama said, I got special shoes. Don't miss that. When somebody tries to make it seem like you don't have what it takes, mama will always speak life into you and tell you, no, I don't care what the world says about you. You're my child, and God can do something special with you. And so he didn't really know what was in him until he realized he had to run. He had these braces that were restricting him, and he really didn't know what was in him until he was forced to run his race. Now Forrest Gump, some bullies came and started trying to throw rocks at him and beat him up. And then all of a sudden, the bullies started chasing him, and all of a sudden, he started running. And Jenny says, run, Forrest, run. And he starts running, and when he ran, one brace fell off of this leg. And then the other brace fell off of this leg. And he began running to do everything that God has ordained for his life. Listen to me. I wonder who might need to be in here today that you might need to run. Run your best race. Watch this now. I'm not done, because listen, he began to run and the braces fell off. I wonder who might need to run so all the restriction might come off you. But watch this. You know the devil always comes. He's always going to come back. This time they come in a pickup truck when he's in high school. Same boys on the bike. Same boys come in a pickup truck. And when they try to get Forrest the second time, Forrest ran so fast. Watch this now. He ran across the town. One of the guys said, who's that? That's Forrest Gump. He ran across the football field. When he ran across the football field, the coach said, who in the world was that? I think that's Forrest Gump. Then the coach asked him to join the team. Don't miss this. He got this because he was running for his life. He joins the team and he's running for his life. He's playing football, scared, but he ran for his life. He ran so well that he got a scholarship to play in college. Why? Because he was running for his life. Then when he joined the army, when his team, when the soldiers got attacked, he was able to save soldiers, watch this now, and get a Purple Heart. Why? Because he ran for his life. I wonder who's in here today, and you realize in order for you to have success, you might need to run for your life. I know Forrest had to run. He ran when it came on a bike. He ran for his life, and he had success. When the bullies came in a pickup truck, he ran for his life, and he had success. When he ran on a football team, he got a scholarship because he ran for his life. And when he was a soldier in the army, he ran for his life, and he had success. But I have a sneaking suspicion and a holy hunch that you might not just be a soldier, but you're a soldier in the army of the Lord. And if you're a soldier in the army of the Lord, you may realize you better run for your life, because if you run, success might come. When you run, the protection of the Lord will come. Somebody shout, run for your life. I'm almost done, Dr. Lee. Here's the alley-oop. He says, you gotta, watch this now. I've fought the good fight. I've ran my race. Here it is, icing on the cake. But I kept the faith. He says, listen to me, Timothy. You're gonna go through situations in your life that are gonna have to force you to hold on to your faith. There are going to be moments in the calling of life where there will be nothing else to hold on to. But if you can hold on to your faith, you'll make it through. Then Paul says this, watch this. He says, you must keep the faith. I'm ready to go home. He says, keep the faith and endure hardship. Well, Paul, what type of struggles did you have trying to keep the faith? He says in 2 Corinthians, 3 times I was beaten with a rod, but I kept the faith. Once I was belted with stones, but I kept the faith. 3 times I was shipwrecked, but I kept the faith. I spent a day and a night in the open sea, but I kept the faith. I have been consistently on the move with nowhere to live, but I kept the faith. I've been in danger in the rivers, but I kept the faith. I've been in danger with bandits, but I kept the faith. I've been in danger with my fellow Jews, but I kept the faith. I've been in danger with Gentiles, but I kept the faith. I was in danger in the city, but I kept the faith. I was in danger in the country, but I kept the faith. I was in danger at sea, but I kept the faith. I was in danger with false believers, but I kept the faith. I toiled in danger all night long, but I kept the faith. I know what it's like to have a lot and keep the faith. I know what it's like to be in need and keep the faith. But Timothy, whatever you do, keep the faith. I wish I had a few people in here tonight that know what it's like to keep the faith. When your car got repoed, you had to keep the faith. When your house was foreclosed, you had to keep the faith. When unemployment came knocking at your door, you had to keep the faith. When sickness touched your body, you had to keep the faith. When you lost your loved one, you had to keep the faith. Somebody shout, keep the faith. I've learned in this life, no matter what you go through, if you got nothing else to hold on to, I'm not letting go of my faith. You can take the keys to my car, devil, but you can't have my faith. You can take the keys to my house, but devil, you can't have my faith. You can take whatever you want, but you can't have my faith. You can take all the money out of my bank account, but you can't take my faith. Because as long as I have Jesus, I know I have enough to start over again. Somebody shout, keep the faith.